Any Illinois homeowners might be surprised to learn that Illinois is one of the largest coal-producing states in the nation. Over 800,000 acres across the state have been undermined for coal. The underground mining of coal and other materials creates voids which are subject to collapse. The collapse of these voids may occur at any time ranging from the immediate time, i.e., while the material is being extracted, to 100 or more years after the mining.
Okay, welcome to Operator Rules, Episode 3, brought to you by Train Videos with Chaotic Auras. My name is David Marx. I'm your host, and the ghostest with the mostest. I'm going to introduce our newcomer every episode from now on because I just said so right now. I would like to welcome a wonderful friend of mine, Mr. Josh Biggers. He is a railroader, an intelligent man, a sweet baby boy, and good God, does he know a lot of stuff about Gulf Mobile in Ohio. Josh, introduce yourself. Pronouns.
Hi, my name is Josh, but most people call me Josh, and my pronouns are he and him.
Mine are he and they.
Hello,
It's
I am
Tom.
Kaylee. Oh, Tom. Okay, go, Tom.
Sorry. It's Tom as always. He, him, bro.
This is Kaylee, she, they, and I am big dumb. I know very little about trains despite working with them daily. It's wonderful.
Okay. So unfortunately, Zach couldn't make it on because he's not feeling well. So feel better, Zach. Everybody, can we please just tell Zach to feel better.
Yeah.
Nerd. No.
This episode, full disclosure, might have a follow up with because Zach had some good information for this. But we gotta keep rolling.
Yeah, more than likely, I intend to redo the first several episodes later on down the road, anyways, as we get going. Really digging the Pierre Marquette CNO color theme you got going on here, Tom.
No one stopped me.
And I never will. Okay, so we're going to talk to you guys about the Ugly Duckling, the BL-2. I think it's a beautiful locomotive, personally.
I agree.
We actually hinted to we briefly breezed over this in I think the SD40 episode.
Oh, and then we touched on it again last week too.
Yep. Despite the fact that this locomotive did not sell very well, it is an extraordinarily important
favorite with us. Yeah.
Not only is it a fan favorite, but this is extraordinarily important in the development of freight locomotives in the United States. But I want you to look at this thing right now and tell me that it is not that much different from a 4S.
Yeah, it's kind of like a bastard cousin of it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like some of the good things about the 4S with very
God,
few
I
of.
haven't fucking seen that until now, and now I'm upset about
The
it.
concept is exactly the same, which we're going to hit on further in here. But basically, you can think of this locomotive as a early F unit, but more better, and just more better, honestly.
She's had some liposuction.
Yeah. I think we should do a Patreon episode on the 4S very soon. There's not a lot of info on it, so we could do it pretty quick.
Yeah, 2 hours of David talking about his brass.
Yeah, so we can hit on that side of things more often, but this is very similar to a very rare, very uncommon design that came out before it. But basically, the problem being is that, like, F units suck to switch on because you're either climbing up this big, tall ladder or you're climbing on the same kind of big, tall ladder on the back. There is no easy way to ride it, and there is almost no good way to give hand signals to your engineer, which, in case you guys forgot, this is like the fucking 40s, and even though they had radios, they just simply wouldn't pay to use them in every locomotive. So, most of your work was done via hand signals, and even to this day, a lot is. Old head railroaders love their hand signals, but
yeah, and the other thing that we do have to mention about this is that even though she looks like, I'm going to assign the BL-2 a gender for this episode. We're going to call it she, they.
I'm very okay with that.
Yeah.
Even though she looks like a thick girl. And we're talking, it's not a full 3Cs like an F unit, but this is definitely like a 2C thick girl. you can still see back.
That is
There
the
is a
thing.
small triangle window.
Yeah, this is tapered here. This long hood is tapered. Man, I just realized you're not going to be able to see my maddening on here. Only the people that
Oh,
are. Well, yeah,
I'm sorry. I can. There we go.
yeah,
There
This
we go.
is
Yeah, we need
tapered
the highlighter
inward.
tool. Like, well, there's your problem, Has.
yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm way too lazy to put the kind of effort that they put into that show.
Same.
Which, I mean, to be fair, I think they're very guerrilla podcasting too. So that's saying something about just how extraordinarily much I don't want to put work into anything. But yeah, so you could see fairly well out of this. The nose is about the same size as an F unit, but your windows are taller on the front, and you have a taper and a little window to see down the sides. If there's a fella standing there on the back of the platform there giving hand signals up, you have a direct line of sight, and this increases your safety factor by a ridiculous amount because F units were not something that you could really drive with your head out of the window too well. I mean,
Yeah,
you
they're
could
not like
do it.
steam locomotives.
Yes. So it's not something you could easily drive while looking out. Yeah, and it's easy to look at the amount of people that were killed in the job back in these days, and you can assume that a massive amount of that is caused by a hand signal not being seen, something happening. I mean, obviously the advent of radio just changed railroading immensely, but a big step is being able to see who you're working with.
And that's the other thing that we should mention real quick about this locomotive is that although we can definitely see there's one side of this locomotive that's the front and there's one that's the back, these were designed for either direction. The chairs were on a swivel, if I remember right, and the cab was set up so that you could drive it just as well in reverse as you could going forward.
I actually did not know
Okay.
that these had dual controls.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
So you were talking about the back window. One thing that is kind of unique about these units is if you look on the picture in the door window, you notice you can see another window inside of there. Now, on an F unit, the door into the engine compartment's a solid door. There's no window. However, when you're looking towards the rear of the locomotive out that rear window, you're actually looking through two windows. You're looking through the door window that's inside the cab, and then you're looking through the window that goes to the outside. But what's neat about that is right inside that inside door, there's a step down. So when you're looking towards the rear, you could actually either look down the hood towards your brakeman or actually look into the engine compartment. Like you could be switching and look and see the prime mover in there, which I thought that was actually pretty neat.
That's cool as fuck.
That is bananas. I did not know that. I don't think I've ever seen an in-cab picture of this locomotive.
Actually, give me a second and I'll try and find it for
Hey,
you.
you find it and you can shoot it in general. We'll get Tom to look it up
Okay.
there. And
That's
or I can
actually
also
so
just hop out of the
bad.
stream and show it. Just let me know when you
Yeah, I
send it.
mean, either way works. We can technology.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Um,
I mean, you have to
was
look at
actually
look at the
wondering
front end. Look at the sill steps on these. How it's literally just like the end frame with a hole cut in it, and then you have a ladder rung above it. Like look at that. That looks so uncomfortable.
GMD
I mean,
ones
it's
were
a-
like that too.
It's a straight vertical fucking climb up.
Nothing
Anywhere on this locomotive, it's vertical.
Nothing about that is fun. I tell you, some of the worst things to switch on, in my experience, were bulkhead flat cars. Because if there are two ladder rungs, they're to hold on to. They're two vertical ladder rungs, like handrails to hold, kind of like on the locomotive here. But they're like 6 inches apart.
Yep.
Or there's just one,
Yeah.
and the cushion unit in every single. I mean, they roll out of the factory with a blown cushion unit. I've never ridden one that wasn't shot. So like slack action will roll in, especially if they're empty. You'll just get like flung, and you'll flagpole almost all the way around the end of the car every single time slack rolls.
It's not
Yeah.
fun. I've had to ride those.
Those are
Again,
awful,
let me
and so
read-
are the paper box cars that only have horizontal rungs. There's no vertical rungs. It's just like ribbed cars, and the bars are just bolted onto the ribs. Awful.
Lumber
Let me
cars
read-
are my goddamn enemy.
Yeah.
I hate whoever designs those fucking things.
God, they're awful. Tank
Let
cars
me
too.
reiterate how much I wanted to work on the railroad when I was a kid, and even still do today. And then once a week, I get on this podcast and I hear like 3 railroad horror stories, and I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah,
So
I worked in the railroad
I want to
industry.
thank you guys for that.
Yeah, 5 years. I was a conductor with Genesee and Wyoming, and then I was uh, various roles at a Laram at one point, and I will tell you that although I look back fondly upon the time, I will never work for a railroad again for the rest of my life. I quit, left in good standing. I still talk to some of the guys there at Laram, but I would never do that again. That's by all means, if you feel like you got to go into the railroad, do it, but keep your expectations gated, because I would not recommend that job to anybody anymore. I'm sure in the old days when you died more often, it was probably cooler, because at least you could like die having fun. There's nothing fun about it. You're still working long hours outside. It's still stupid dangerous, and like you can't get on and off moving equipment. You can't like kick cars without a locomotive on them anymore. You can't do dumb shit. It's not even fun.
Oh my god,
You
kicking
can't
cars with a locomotive.
you can't
I
smoke
saw-
because of Ricky Gates, smoking weed and running a red signal. Now you can't have a doink on the train anymore. Like what the fuck? Fuck you, Ricky Gates.
I saw a video in, I think it was my Michigan group, and they were at the end of some fucking line, and it was Pennsylvania Railroad when they were running steam, and it's just this 280, and they just fucking run it at this switch, and they had to have had this locomotive up to 30 miles an hour. They cut the fucking cars. The brakeman, then they're slowing down the locomotive as fast as they can. Brakeman jumps off, throws the switch. Caboose and the cut of cars comes flying by with the conductor just yanking on the wheel as much as it can.
Handbrake wheel.
And the locomotive comes out and fucking reconnects. And I'm like, holy fucking shit.
You know what that's called?
Flying Dutchman.
Switch.
Dutch drop. Dutch drop.
Yep.
I have seen videos of somebody that's in our
they
group
were-
chat Dutch dropping multiple times. I'm not saying who on air because he is an active railroader, but yeah, I'll talk
shit.
to one of our buddies and get him to send you guys some Dutch drop videos because he does it a lot.
Yeah,
2 points
like-
of order. Yeah, the railroad I used to work for, a tourist road, actually used to Dutch drop cars all the time, passenger cars specifically, because that was the only way you could run the engine around at one end of our line for a long time.
Look,
And then
I've seen Hartwell Railroad Dutch drop and gravity switch on jointed rail with like an EJ and E SD38. So
yeah, and then
If anybody thought railroading was boring now.
oh
it's
yeah,
not.
you
It's
literally
illegal.
just have to know where to look. The railroading is still
Yeah.
very cool. You just have to know where to go.
yeah,
It's,
and I can still get on and off moving equipment with my current company.
Yeah, it's only a
It's
couple. It's
not
only I think
cool.
one
It's
class
only a
one.
few-
Only one class one and a couple
Yeah,
of holding
CSX.
companies. Yeah, I think it's CSX is the only one that allows moving equipment. And there's nothing dangerous about getting on and off moving equipment. It's only unsafe if you get hurt. You just don't fuck up.
Yeah, don't fuck up, kids.
Sticker available in the
Because
TPWCA merch store.
Oh yeah, I got to start linking to Etsy, man. I have a lot of Trains Are Queer Culture stickers left, like a bunch. I have
That's
one
a
on
shame.
I have one on my PC case, and then I have like both the Penn Central stickers. I have
So,
the
just
Save
real
Amtrak
fast.
sticker, a trans flag, and an Acorn amplifiers sticker all on the front of my PC.
Hell yeah. So just real fast, for the sake of plugging it, what is that Etsy store?
I think it's TPWCA official. I don't have my phone on me, but I'll link it in the comments. I got to put some more stuff up on there, and I got to get my Depop going too. I have a lot of like iron-on patches in Southeastern Railway Museum in Duluth, Georgia, near where I live. They sell patches. One time I bought like $150 worth at once. They're like, this is the most we've ever sold ever. But I want to go back, and then I'm just gonna get like T-shirts, hats, underwear, whatever I feel like, and just like start cramming the Etsy store with homemade railroad merch.
I had a hoodie back in high school. This is probably one of the reasons why I got made fun of.
Didn't
and
we
it
all
was
have a
just-
hoodie in high school?
And it was
Yes.
just covered with railroad patches on the back.
Oh, dude,
thought
we're
it
gonna
was
start. No, I'm
cool.
gonna start making like punk, like battle jackets, but like just with railroad
Yeah.
stickers.
That's what mine was.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I got made fun of.
Okay, anyways, we're on the
It's so
first slide. We've
yeah.
been talking for
Oh.
like 7 days.
Okay,
But
so I thought that we should go perspective of what really the first diesels are.
Fun
And
fact to interject before we get too in, at that same museum I mentioned, they have an Armco box cab like this right here. I've gotten to climb all inside it, and if they did restore it, it would be the oldest operating diesel locomotive I think anywhere in the world.
Wow.
That's cool as hell.
Yeah, I've been
Oh,
all
so
in
they-
it. It's awesome.
To interject too before we get too far away, Tom, I did find that picture. I sent it to you in general.
Oh yeah.
Two, going back to talking about moving equipment. For those that don't know me, I work for a Genesee and Wyoming property now, much like David
I am
did.
so sorry.
I accept your.
How the fuck do I do this?
I already showed
But,
it. You're good.
All right,
but,
cool, because I'm not good at this.
But about Dutch drop and stuff. So before I came here, I used to work for an Omnitrax property, and those of you that know Omnitrax is, for lack of a better word, a fucking sweatshop. And so out there, we could get on and off moving equipment, kick cars. We couldn't Dutch drop, but we could do gravity drops, which we've done to run around stuff, which basically just, pump your air up, put a couple good handbrakes on, tuck the engine out of the way, knock the brakes off. As soon as it gets by, just reach down, kick the angle cock open, bring the engine back out. But honestly, that kind of stuff made railroading fun.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
if I get to do shit
no,
like
we-
that, I
we-
might
we-
not
we-
have quit.
I mean, we don't get to. I'm not going to go too much in depth about the sketchy shit we did, but like on Genesee and Wyoming, everything's got to be on air. You can't kick, you can't drop, you can't jump on and off moving equipment. I mean, thankfully where I'm at, it's a very laid back operation. But like, if I worked for like a very heavy switching operation, it would be hell. It would be very much hell because
My
like.
first day on the ground.
Oh yeah, and another.
My first day
I
on
was
the
gonna say-
ground with Chattahoochee Bay, I walked 18 miles. It was about 97 degrees outside. I walked 18 miles on the ground the first day because my trainee had a step counter on his phone.
Oh yeah, and by the way, Genesee and Wyoming, you have to use a brake stick.
Oh, it's all. I hate the fucking brake stick. We'll do a bonus episode on the brake stick. God,
I love
fucking,
them.
they're
God
good.
damn.
Look, they're good, but you're not walking 18 miles a day in the Alabama heat.
Yeah, try Texas heat. It got up to 110 in my first month there.
Yeah,
Alright,
but
guys.
but
And then y'all
hey,
were talking about heat, and I'm out here in like negative
Guys.
fucking 20.
okay, back on
Jesus.
topic.
We
Okay.
will get the OnlyFans going so that we can have a live dick measuring contest later. Jesus.
Southeastern
I don't even need
heat.
an OnlyFans for that. I could just turn on my webcam shit.
Oh, good God.
YouTube will get censored. Okay. So this is really what we're gonna look at as a first diesel, and even this is a boxy boy.
Oh yeah.
And this is not the diesels that we're gonna think of. This is. It has a diesel motor. Is it better than a steam locomotive? Oh fuck to the no.
Not really.
Speed 9 miles an hour.
Yeah, this thing, I'm going to guess it's going to have the equivalent pulling power of an 040 or an 060,
If even.
and probably half the reliability.
I think
If
they were
even.
300 horsepower, right? 300 horsepower?
Yeah, and they were mechanical drive too.
Ooh.
So basically, it's a glorified track mobile, is what it is.
Well, some
Yeah.
were okay. That's not fair because actually the one at Southeastern Railway Museum was actually diesel electric, and that locomotive was in service for I think like 80 or 90 years.
Holy hell.
Like these were built in what, like the 19 teens.
Yes.
Yeah, they're riveted like a fucking tank.
Yeah, I think that the one at Armco, it didn't work quite that long. I think it worked into the early 80s maybe, but this is literally like, this is like if the dreadnought, like, battleships were called dreadnoughts because the first one that looked sort of kind of like a working boat was called Dreadnought. Dreadnought never even saw combat and was obsolete in like 8 years, I think.
That does sound like
Yeah,
military
this is
technology.
like a pre-dreadnought. Like if the BL-2 was a dreadnought, this is a pre-dreadnought. So the fact that it lasted that long, like you're talking about like not even a Model A Ford, bro. Like we're talking Stanley Steamer kind of car, and it just worked up into like let's say it just ran into the 60s or something. This is like disgustingly early diesel electric technology.
Right. And there are going to be the outliers that are reliable, but most often these things are not.
Oh, piles of shit.
Yeah, because a lot of times they're home built or they're road built.
Yeah, they would be a box, and then they would just order a diesel from Winton or something like.
Yeah. So it's not a great locomotive.
Diesel was also pretty expensive back in these days, I believe.
Yeah, because I mean it's basically you're basically buying just more refined kerosene.
Yeah, because this is diesel can be made as like a gas producing byproduct, but gasoline was not extremely common in this day and age either. So
and gasoline is actually just a byproduct of making kerosene, which was the main thing they were distilling oil for.
Yep.
So you're talking about kerosene is really the profit fuel they're making from oil. Diesel is kind of kerosene with some more oil.
It's a specialty. Yeah.
So it's its own thing. We don't really want to get bogged down on this one too much.
Yeah, thank God I'm not smart enough to do organic chemistry, so I'm not going to hurt you like that.
We're not going to bog down too much on this locomotive more than we already have.
Do any of us even have a degree in anything? Is there any college experience?
I have railroad operations on my college.
Yeah.
I have some college.
Yeah, so did Frank Gallagher, but you don't see anyone calling Shameless
let me
good.
Put it this way, I've got like 8 years of college and no degree.
Fair enough. I'm actually really depressed that I've almost finished watching Shameless. I'm so addicted to that show. But anyways, these are the first diesels that you see here.
Yep, and I just wanted to point out, these are, they're still boxy boys.
I want to say some of these were built on tender frames, weren't they? Like steam tender frames?
Oh, that wouldn't surprise me at all. That wouldn't surprise me. We're gonna do another episode on Boxcast.
I would love, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Oh God, what a good scheme! What a good scheme.
Not only that, look at this. This is on these locomotives. I didn't even look at where I got this photo from, but these must be restored units that were restored by GM. Because look at that fucking GM water tower.
Oh yeah, these locomotives, these FTs were made in the 30s. I think one of these was at Spencer, right?
Yeah, the A unit and the B unit were actually reunited. I think at Spencer. I think St. Louis has the A unit, and somebody else has the B unit.
The B unit is ex-Southern Railway, I believe, wasn't it? It was sold from EMD to Southern after its demo time.
I believe so.
Yep,
yes,
I think so. It's the only Southern FT.
A bunch of after demo units.
Yeah, well, they bought a bunch of FTs too. I think I'm not 100%
sure.
They
were one of the first railroads to dieselize.
Yeah, well, the South was where it was happening at, man. Bayline Railroad would have been the first dieselized Class 1 if it wasn't for World War II. You can find out more about that in the Patreon bonus episode that is available to everybody since it's a teaser.
So anyway, this is like we were already saying, this is our first reliable kind of all-purpose diesel locomotive, and this is the F unit, if I remember right, is really designed as a passenger service locomotive, and then it's like, oh well, it does freight pretty well too, and so you wind up with this kind of being the first catch-all unit. What does
playing fast and loose with diesels? That nobody was really sure what they would be good at. A few forward-thinking people, like especially railroads like Southern and Gulf Mobile in Ohio, was a mass. They dieselized extremely early. There were, and I know there were other roads around, but some people saw the truth of the matter, which is that this technology is advancing insanely quickly, and steam has pretty much hit its technological zenith.
If you look at the Burlington Zephyr, which I think came out in 1934, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're correct, yeah.
Within the first I guess maybe 15 years of diesels coming on scene, they had already broken 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
and we're just. And well, even then, technically, the Zephyr wasn't a diesel.
Yeah,
It
they
was
were
a
gas.
gasoline,
Yeah,
or
it was
whatever
like
the
they,
hell,
they
yeah.
ran on basically gas.
Yeah,
But
but like,
it
so
was
the technology
quickly
was there, and they were making great strides.
the difference in long-term reliability and potential for abuse was already known. Like the difference between gas and diesel was known, despite the fact that diesel wasn't advancing as quickly as gas technology was. It was known by this point that just from a structural and a engineering standpoint, diesel engines can lower RPMs, but will lug forever, where gas engines cannot do the same thing.
Yeah,
it,
the
it was known that gas technology was probably a dead end in large applications like this, but it's just that gas was evolving faster. But by the point, by the late 40s, it was apparent that this was the future. But the FTs came out in the 30s, and a lot of the experimental locomotives did as well. And some people didn't want to see
the other thing that we should, it's fairly common knowledge, but we want to mention it, is that we can talk about gas hitting its thing, but at the end of the day, gas and diesel are both internal combustion engines. Lessons learned from one can be applied to the other.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's part of the reason why this is developing so fast, is that because regardless of the fuel source, we're learning things that can still be applied to the other fuel source.
And from a mechanical standpoint, steam is generated from an external source, like a firebox, and that heat has to be transferred, which generates steam, which is used to move a piston. But the combustion is inside a case in an internal combustion engine. Your mechanical output is directly coming from the ignition source. You're eliminating so many thermal steps.
There's so much reduction in loss of power.
It's unbelievable, and there is a point that there are losses that it's kind of like no matter how aggressively you tune a car, turbo lag is always going to happen to some degree. Because the engine has any exhaust-driven turbo is you have to wait for exhaust to be generated.
That's why you put a supercharger and a turbo on your car.
Right, but more I mean in the concept is that there's always there's delays. The delay between heating up water, which vaporizes into steam, to push a piston, compared to the fact that there was an explosion in a cylinder and that explosion happens in a millisecond and it pushes it. Thermal loss is real. It is real and it cannot be avoided. Energy is
she's a fickle bitch.
She is a fickle bitch. That's a good way to put it. Anybody that had a good mechanical understanding had to realize by the late 30s, if you're looking, this is the future. But this is still early teething stage. Just like what we're looking at with electric cars right now, is we're in, like, I would say maybe like the 50s right now. Like, we know that this is coming. It's starting to work. Early 50s, but there's still regular stuff around. But you look back here, it's like, yeah, this is new technology. But look at electric cars in the 70s. They existed. They're bad. Watch Aging Wheels. I like that guy. But yeah, that's talking like your box cabs. Now you're getting into the semi-reliable era. So
the early Teslas.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Sorry, I'm drinking, so I'm stupid.
Hey man, it's all good. So we're going over these locomotives, and honestly, this is another thing that warrants its own episode. And by the time that YouTube pays us enough that we all can retire, I'm sure that my phone will just have a fucking brick of notes on episodes that we have yet to do.
That happens. We won't be using phones anymore. It's gonna be like brain chips or whatever cyberpunk bullshit.
Oh yeah, well, I got the vaccine, the microchips in me.
That's.
I'm just waiting on the second one.
Yeah, I'm waiting
on.
I actually have to get my appointment scheduled. I finally qualify to get them in Georgia.
Nice. Yeah, I'll tell you what, you're gonna really enjoy much better phone service with the 5G chip they inject into you.
Yeah, isn't it that? And then they say they're putting like estrogen in them too. I cannot wait for to be prettier.
Bigger titties.
Yeah,
So I am on the waiting list for bimbofication surgery.
I'm excited for you. I cannot wait. You know
Uh,
what? You know what would make this podcast unilaterally better is if we all had titties.
God, yeah, you're right. Probably.
Okay, so the reason why we have this locomotive on here is because basically every locomotive that's being produced in this time frame into the mid 40s, it's going to have a body style like this. Alco's coming out with the PAs and the FAs, which basically just look like EMDs that got fat.
The other
And
thing
then
around is like Fairbanks Morse locomotives that are just brick with cab on one end. They look like steam engines, but different.
yeah, and then you've got of course EMD with the E and the F units. And they're all this streamlined body style, and this looks gorgeous at the front of a passenger train. And it's gonna be okay for hauling long haul freight across the country, or across the division. But the problem becomes, you're still relying on your local medium to small steam locomotives for doing your road work and your local work, just because these are not set up well for switching. And like David said, when they are being used for switching, people are dying and people are losing body parts because they're incredibly hard to see.
This isn't
Um,
initially a problem though, because at this point, albeit most railroads realize that they're going to have to de-steam. They're not in a great hurry to do it. A lot of railroads are still building steam in the 40s. World War
yeah,
II being a necessity, but even after World War II, some steam is still being built, mostly for passenger use because, PRR and New York Central are still in their like big PP contest, and Baldwin centipedes aren't working out too good. But
no. And
um,
then people are also they're experimenting with the steam turbines. But even though that's a whole nother episode, because
yeah,
those are fantastic pieces.
yeah, but it's quickly becoming apparent that steam and coal turbines, which they were hoping to ideally switch over to coal turbines, kind of like ships went from triple expansion to turbine. They were hoping, okay, we can still use our coaling and our watering infrastructure, and
And that's really driven by the eastern roads, just because so much of their business is coal,
yep,
and they know that the second they switch to diesel, they're going to lose customers,
yep,
just because there's going to be mines that have to close.
yep, and that's a
Um,
problem. But it's okay that these locomotives, these early diesels, are like only in long haul trains at first because the railroads are still heavily invested in the infrastructure, manpower, and labor that it takes to maintain and operate steam locomotives. To the point that, as I said, despite the fact they're ordering way more diesels, all these railroads are still getting steam. Sans Gulf Mobile in Ohio, I think Southern, and a couple others. A couple railroads by the mid 40s have stopped even rebuilding steam, but most of them are still producing it new on their own, to some degree. So it's okay, that this is long haul because they're like, great, this new technology's moving freight across the road quicker, and we can use our aging steam locomotives in their twilight years to sort out all the local situations. The problem being is that you still have to maintain infrastructure that costs money, i.e., water tanks and coaling towers and the people to operate and maintain them, along with the fact that these locomotives are getting older and older and it's not economically feasible to rebuild them. So you see the push for things like F units, like what we're looking at here, to go into local and yard service quickly because the cost of even keeping the steam that they have left that is usable for local work is extremely expensive, and the last steam being built in the 40s is almost exclusively for passenger trains. Very few freight locomotives are still being built. If they
and
are,
if
it's
they are,
usually rebuilds.
yeah, and if it is new freight, I mean, Lima Superpower Steam is leading the pack in the late 40s.
Yeah, so you're seeing big
Um,
articulated steam engines because the technology with steam is hitting its absolute peak post World War II. Until
right.
you start getting into like nuclear reactor power, which trains have yet to see. Steam
Thank God for
steam
that.
via oil or coal combustion peaks out in the late 40s. It really does not advance much further. So,
So
just
let's go on. So we've explained. So you guys now should have an understanding of kind of the problem the railroads are facing in the mid to late 40s. They're looking down the barrel of deteriorating steam locomotives that they know it's not efficient to replace with these diesel locomotives that are not really set up for the job. So enter the BL-2. And the BL-2 is going to be the first locomotive that they design, and EMD comes out with this design, and it's designed specifically for what the BL stands for is branch line.
Hey, before we
These are
switch to this,
designed-
hey, flip back to that last slide for 1 second.
Oh, God damn it, that's hard to do.
I know.
Look at this. Look at how less professional we look
I
now.
know. But look at the frame, okay? You see the frame there? You see how there just basically isn't one? You ever notice that? But there's really nothing happening there on the frame level, right?
Yeah.
Okay, these locomotives are truss braced. Look above the portholes. You can see the trusses.
Oh, these fuckers.
Yes, the locomotive is literally braced like a truss bridge. There's not a solid frame, and that's something that's very important to point out the difference here. Because although this little side skirting there by the front mark, you see that little skirting there is very similar to what's on the end of the BL-2, where I was like, God, they just cut a hole in it for the ladder. But if you look at this, that is sheet metal. That is sheet metal fairing that goes down to track level. Now switch to the new slide. That is a solid steel frame.
Yeah.
That is a huge difference in these locomotives. This is a much heavier built frame. This is a much heavier locomotive.
Yep. So, yeah. So let's start digging into the BL-2 a little bit. This slide is going to have our railroads who ordered these. There are only 59 of these locomotives that are built. So this is an exceedingly rare locomotive. We're not Ingalls S1 rare, but
4S, thank you, sir.
yeah. Sorry, I stole that line from Kaylee because we were talking before this, and then I still fucked it up.
Good job.
But these are BL stands for branch line. There was a BL1. Is it worth talking about? No, because the BL2 is basically the same as the BL1. There's some minor changes, but they're so minor I don't remember them.
Fair enough.
Yeah, if you want to know about the BL1, you have a computer. You can go to Wikipedia.
That's what we do to write these slideshows.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, we're like, hey, I remember reading this bullshit fact.
Hey, we're
And
here.
then
We're
it's-
just here to make it sound cool and understandable to the hip youth of
Yes,
today.
this is the most interesting Wikipedia page you'll ever listen to.
Yeah.
So, really, you guys can see a little bit better in this picture how that back cowl is tilted inwards, right here with this Chicago and Eastern Illinois locomotive. But these are built. There's BL stands for branch line, as I've said now for the third time, and they're actually meant to be either for freight or passenger.
I would just like to point out that this locomotive has cum gutters. It has the V on the front.
What?
What?
What did you just say?
You know, like when dudes have that V, like ripped dudes, like from like below their belly button to their crotch. The V, yeah, a vile name for that's called cum gutters. But anyways, this locomotive has cum gutters.
I can never. Oh my god.
Thank you for ruining the BL2 for me.
You're welcome.
Thank you for ruining men for me.
Men should have been ruined by many other things by now.
No,
We
you're
are
right.
trash.
God, if
Anyways.
that's what broke men for you, I really wonder about your morals.
So, that's kind of the part of the funky styling of this, is that these are not meant to be exclusively freight locomotives. These are meant to be diesel passenger locomotives too, and that's why they've got that weird styling on them. It's because they're meant to blend in with your streamliners. Do they do that?
No.
Not particularly well.
They're cute.
But
I don't care what anybody says.
Try.
They're cute.
But this locomotive is designed with freight switching in mind, which is a huge deal. This is really like the first locomotive where they're anticipating it being used as a road switcher. And so let's see the people who are innovative enough to look at this bastard and say, yeah, I'll take one.
Us. We're gonna use
Bangor.
Patreon money to buy one.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah, we are. Bangor and Aroostook.
Banger and a Roostic.
They have 8. Boston, Maine
I like
is
that.
going to take
I like
4.
that Banger and a Roostic's reporting marks are bar. I'm gonna have another drink because of that.
Boston and Maine takes 4. Here it is, my boy. Pure Marquette, they order 6. We're going to get into this later in the episode because no one supervised me on this podcast.
Hell
thing.
yeah. I'm gonna keep talking. Keep talking. I'm gonna run and go pee.
Okay, cool. Have fun.
Have fun, be safe.
Fall in.
So Pure Marquette orders 6 of them. They're not going to get delivered until after the C&O merger, though, so they are going to come in C&O paint. But Pure Marquette was forward-thinking enough to order these.
That's like the GP50s that the Frisco ordered. They ordered them. The Frisco ordered them, but they're delivered under BN.
Huh. Did they come in, like, just straight-up BN paint, or did they come in some bastard Frisco paint?
One came in bastard Frisco paint. I'm trying to think. So that one, like, it was weird because it was delivered in Frisco. If I'm not mistaken, it was still lettered for Frisco, but it was sub-lettered and numbered for BN.
BN.
Yeah.
Interesting. So the Pure Marquette got their original 6. The Chesapeake and Ohio actually liked the locomotives so much after the PM got the order. The C&O ordered 8 more.
I'm back.
So C&O actually rosters 14 of these things, and I believe that is the most of any railroad, which is why you're going to see... I mean, part of it's me, part of it's also that they had the most. C and I, they have 2.
Monon.
Thank you.
This is Biggers territory here.
That was a quick piss, David.
Oh yeah, I'm fast.
It was like emptying a fire hose.
I'm fast.
Uh,
Damn
like
girl, you pissed with that dick?
Yes.
Rock Island got 5 of them.
I want to rock your island.
The Cock Island line.
EMD got 1. FEC got 6.
Woo!
I actually really
Good railroad, good railroad, good railroad.
Mopac got 8. And then Western Maryland got 2, and I believe those were delivered in spicy meatball schemes.
They were. I have a model of one of those from Proto 2K at my granddad's house.
That is the only Proto 2K model that's accurate. But again, we'll talk about that later.
Oh no.
Oh no! I want to go back to the pretty one.
Man, motherfucker, you said you had to do hard shit to go back. Hold on a minute. I saw that. Little bastard.
I just found that. Okay, I just found that. Literally just found that.
This is like a Northeast cryptid removal post right here. Send me this picture. I'm gonna have them post this.
What did I call this earlier? The Zapruder film.
Of BL-2s. We determined what locomotive it was. It was a GP7 on the grass.
Yeah, it was a Frisco GP7.
Oh,
that's
man.
right.
You know, you don't really think of Frisco as an eastern road. Like, I never have. I've never paid it any attention. And then I remember that it, like, just went to Birmingham and that BNSF still runs to Birmingham, Alabama. And that's why I see fucking BNSF, like, 25 times a day past my house.
I like BNSF. I like the big orange guys that go burr.
They're the second largest polluter in the United States behind the U.S. military.
Oh, I don't
They'll
like
never
that.
let you hear that.
Well, you just heard it right here, folks. Your neighborhood queer commies told you first.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now we're gonna have a Zapruder film about us.
That's fine.
So
We'll be fine. We're built different. Sorry, JFK.
Yeah.
If that was me, I'd have been fine.
he had a back brace on, which was a major detriment to him.
Yeah, I respect the JFK, but I'm built different.
Yeah, I didn't get blown up out of a PT boat.
Yeah, I'm fine. I would have simply just not had my boat blow up.
All right. To the BL-2.
Sorry, Japan. I reject your reality.
Yeah.
I reject your reality and substitute my own.
Biggers, the last time you did that, that's how we got on an Oro Dam Railroad tangent, and good God, we need to make a bonus episode for that.
Bonus episode. Shit, we could just make an entire episode just on that.
That's awesome. Anyways, as we go.
We all get together in the same room one day.
Oh, that's scary. Well, that would be our first Fremo model layout run.
Okay, so we've got the most cryptid BL-2 picture I could find, apparently. And you guys can see, again, this is a decent attempt at streamlining. I mean, if you look at it, it's an airplane wing, really.
It's a cute I was about to say it's a cute airplane. It's a good looking locomotive, especially this one with the high number boards on the nose and the bell and the horn. Like, that's cute.
Yeah, C&O did some really weird stuff to their BL-2s, and that could be a bonus episode.
Look, I'm just saying, that's Mothman there in the cab. You see the silhouette of the engineer. You can't tell me this has got to be a Northeast Cryptid Removal Organization post. Mothman's driving this train. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah.
Actually, you know who the engineer could be?
Who's that?
That Bigfoot from the right film from like the 1950s.
Oh my God! I'm literally gonna Photoshop that when we get off this and send it to the admin of Necro.
Oh my God. God, where were we at with the BL-2 before we started?
Streamlining.
Streamlining also had to do with using these in switching service.
Okay, cool. All right.
And diesel.
I feel like I know where we're at, and I'm also simultaneously incredibly lost.
Well, to swing back to topic, the airplane wing looking streamlining here is so that it'll halfway blend in with your passenger train, but as you see, this is a direct line of sight from Mr. Cryptid Mothman in the cab to look down if his conductor was riding on the front platform, and then the same with the downslope on the cum gutters on the back. So that he could see his brakeman back there at the bottom of the pile of cum raining down the side of the BL-2 at the time of operation.
Oh, man. Remember how we were talking like 30 minutes ago about how if we ever got monetized?
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. We're a long way from monetization. I looked at what it takes. Yeah. We're not close.
Not in the least.
I think we only need another like 9,900 watched hours. I think we're fine.
All right, cool. So there, let's get on this. Get on this spicy meatball. So the other thing that kind of shows up with the Western Maryland ones is you could order these with like several different headlights.
I love that headlight right there. I love a good round, like the big round dish headlight housing, but with twin beams in it. I love that.
This is what I'm gonna refer to as the doggo snoot.
Fair enough. Headlight. It do be looking a little puppyish.
Yeah. But they had the single beam, they had the doggo snoot, and then you could also get a Mars light on them.
God, I wish I had a Mars light.
So then, the other thing was that you could order these with or without steam generators. So it's not like it was built to handle either or. But
you could just order it in a freight configuration if you didn't need it.
Right. And so that's kind of interesting because we're going away from this locomotive that they're designing like a Swiss Army knife. This is, I think, what we can really qualify as the first diesel locomotive that you can purpose build for freight service.
Well, to be fair, a lot of the F units did not have steam generators.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's yeah.
Another big thing to talk about is that this came out before updated versions of the F unit that had the 567 prime movers. This is the first EMD locomotive, I think, period, with a solid frame and also a 567, which, I mean, it's basically internally, it's pretty much just a GP7, isn't it?
GP9.
GP9, right? Biggers, you might be able to touch a little more on that, but what the FTs did not have a 567.
If I'm not mistaken, those might have still had the, what was it, the Winston?
The
Winston
Winton.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the 567 is what ends up in the GP and in larger form in the SD series locomotives that we touched on in the SD40 episode. The 567 was the first EMD prime mover that was absolutely bulletproof. Now at this point, when the BL-2 comes out, it's a brand new motor, but they still these were being built in the 40s. They still produce this locomotive, or not this locomotive.
Yeah.
They still produce 567s, not for the U.S., but for other countries without as strict environmental regulations. 567s are still produced brand new today. Every single part for that prime mover is still produced brand new.
So, and that's something that we should probably real quick touch on, is that there's a brand new locomotive. It's the 567. These locomotives come out in 48. GP7s, I believe, come out in 50.
Right, and I know the SW 7s and 9s are basically the same as Jeeps internally. Same with them. But
so they start with this power plant, and then they skip it for the 7s, and then it's put back in place for the GP9s.
A lot of this development was happening congruently, though.
Right, but because once these first hit the market and they realize that, okay, there's a little bit of a market for this, they immediately start on developing the GP7.
Something to remember is that a lot of weird shit's happening in this time period. You have Lima and Baldwin both building center cab locomotives that are like longer than modern freight locomotives. Like,
oh my god,
they're literally like longer than a Gevo, I think, with a cab in the middle, because they thought, that transfer.
I think they're as long as a GG1.
Yeah, they're massive. Bad visibility, but the idea behind them was they're very heavy, and we got a lot of power out of these. So these are going to be used like in big cities like Chicago to take a really heavy train like 18 miles over to another rail yard to interchange with another railroad. Then we're going to drag a shit ton of cars back. And for some reason, at the time, because this is all new stuff, all these locomotive concepts are brand new. So they're like, we're going to design a locomotive specifically for this task. We're going to make it produce a lot more horsepower. Because if you look on the front of this locomotive, by the way, this BL-2, there's only one hose on the front, and that's air brake. This locomotive was not set up to run with other locomotives. So,
actually incorrect.
Oh.
Yeah, you could see there's an MU plug next.
Oh, wait, yep, I see it up there. Okay, my mistake. But at the time, a lot of
Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yeah, okay, you got me. Fair enough. But MU was not necessarily standard equipment. You could order it or you could order without it. So being able to run multiple diesels at once was an option at this time. Not only this, but Baldwin, Alco, Lima, EMD, everyone used a different system, and only some of it could interchange. So, I know for sure, at first, Baldwin's used, an air-actuated system as opposed to electrical, and they couldn't. It took them a while to develop a plug, basically, where they could MU with other stuff. So that's a big thing to think about. So they're like, all right, we're going to build a giant heavy locomotive for this major service, when in reality, you get into the GP series, general purpose, you can just hook two of those together instead of having one that's 90 feet long and you can't see out of. You can just simply stick two engines together and run them as one, and it does the same job. But this is a time when, they didn't know that you needed a separate locomotive to run branch lines or not. The GP7 or the GP9 could do the BL-2's job in freight or passenger service better, because it had even better visibility and access for maintenance. But this is a new developmental time, and the concept for the GPs are only developing as companies like EMD are looking at Baldwin and Alco and Lima and being like, man, there's no interchangeability with these things. They're super custom orders, so the one railroad could order them with different options than another, and suddenly they don't work well together. Um, and they don't, railroads are ordering from every builder. If you can't use things together, you're basically making steam locomotives. I'm going to need two crews to run these two engines if they're all I have. What benefit are we really making right now? So EMD, this is like testing the waters. It's a brand new prime mover. It's a brand new concept, but despite the fact that this didn't sell well, the concept was so good. That's where you step to next.
Well, and that's something important to note is that actually EMD, the demonstrator unit that we touched on in the first slide here, EMD's demonstrator, they specifically made sure it went out with MU hoses, MU cables on them, because they wanted to be able to show that you could run multiples of these locomotives.
You could lash this up with 9 FTs and it would run. You could use it. The concept behind this was that it was geared towards branch line use, but if you were running a short distance passenger train, or if you were running freight, or if you needed in a pinch extra power on the main line, this locomotive could do whatever you needed it to do.
Because I've seen pictures on the Monon of these things MU'd with F units. So basically, like you said, they would use them on a branch line, but they don't have enough power to, say the train's too heavy for just one. They'd slap an old F unit on there and basically just use it as 2 units.
Yep.
Well, we saw that on that CE&I photo. If anybody was eagle-eyed, they actually had an F unit on the back of that one.
You look at the F units, and you look at GP7s and 9s, and then you think about what would be exactly half of both of these things, and this is one of the most understandable linear transitions in design that I could possibly think of.
Which, interestingly enough, the BL-2 was actually not the first attempt at them doing a branch line, a general purpose branch line unit. I believe it was the Great Northern in the late 30s, I think, like 39, 40, that era. They did something called an NW3, which, if you think
so
this
cool.
isn't the most, those are bizarre looking. Like it's basically like an SW engine on a GP, or actually in this case like a BL frame with Blomberg trucks, and like an elongated switcher cab that you can't go out the front because of the cowling over the engine just like tapers out all the way to the edge of the frame. It's the strangest looking thing.
It's like, it literally looks like the father of the RS 1325.
And then they also did something called an NW5, which is basically an NW2 with a steam generator.
Yeah, and it's sad that one of those was scrapped.
Depot had one of those.
One of those was scrapped like a year or two ago. It's a shame.
I think it was Tate and Lyle.
Yeah, it was it was at a mill or whatever, and then they just cut it up.
Because I know Tate and Lyle had, I think it was in Pennsylvania, that had the only other NW3 because I know one NW3 is restored on static display in Montana, Whitefish, Montana, and the other one Tate and Lyle actually used as a plant switcher, and I don't know if that one's still around. I'm not 100%, but it was a couple years ago.
Yeah, it's a shame how much has gotten scrapped in the last about 4 years, man.
And the sad part is all the cool stuff went to Tate and Lyle.
Yeah.
Well, we had this conversation before we started recording. You can only save so much. There's only ever going to be so much money that gets put into preservation. And at what point, we'd love to save everything, but we don't have the real estate to save everything.
Look, all I need is to win the lottery, and we most certainly will.
Oh no, yeah! If I win the lottery,
GMD once the Union of Angry Foamers Railroad, we're going to start it, okay?
All right, so moving on. If you guys don't recognize the background of this photo, I just want to give a quick shout out. This Western Maryland meatball is preserved currently at the Baltimore and Ohio Museum. If you haven't made it to the Baltimore and Ohio Museum, it has been upwards of 10 years since I have gone. I miss it desperately. it is a beautiful railroad museum. You
Despite
should
the
go.
fact that I could have, in my Laram career working on the corridor, I never got to go. Never got to see Strasburg either, even though I was parked right there by the Jointed Rail Farmer stream for like a month.
We're gonna have like the you know how like they do the World War II tours of Europe? We're just gonna have like the TPWCA fucking railroad bus tour.
I would love that. Speaking of that, I broke 27K the other day on the page. Who would have ever thought?
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Now, if only every single one of those people donated $1, and we'd reach our fucking goal.
And we could fund the driver. Actually, we could fund multiple drivers. And
I'm gonna draw dicks on one of the drivers.
Hell
my
yeah.
god, that'd be great. Just I want an eggplant emoji on the driver.
I want to take like a resin imprint of my dick and put it on the driver. It wouldn't take up much space. Come on, like you wouldn't even be able to notice.
We're all gonna do imprints of our dick, and it's gonna spell out TPWCA.
That's beautiful. You're gonna have to use multiple castings. Like I'm not gonna be able to help that much, but I'll try.
No. Any round bits will get casting into our balls.
Okay. Anyway, small penis jokes.
You could be the period at the end, David.
Yeah, Scott. Scott told me my whole personality can't be owning a sob and having a small dick. So let's move on.
Okay, Rock Island.
Oh man, that's hot.
Yeah, I actually don't mind the Rock Island.
I like the pie trucks in the background. Like I hope it's key lime, or no, lemon meringue. Lemon meringue.
Line is a mighty good road. Oh, the cockeye line, it's the road to ride.
Too bad the dude that owns like the new Rock Island Railroad's like a Republican.
Oof.
I cab rode a CF7 on his railroad before it was his railroad. I went to a blues festival in Clarksdale and got to ride in a CF7 with a bullet hole in front of the engineer's seat.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, it was badass.
Yeah, that's another thing. CF7, yeah, CF7. There we go. Is gonna be our opener for season 2.
Oh God, I hope so. I fucking love those units, dude.
Yeah, well, like I said, I claim de facto producer roles, which means I'm choosing the episode.
I don't give a shit. I just want to talk.
So this is Rock Island. They're using it in commuter service. Kaylee was talking about there is apparently photos of this floating out there with the BL-2 running the streamlined rocket.
Oh, that's hot.
That sounds amazing. But I mean, it's just another example. These locomotives were used for both. The C&O had some with steam generators. They also ordered a bunch without it, just because they quickly figured out, like, oh yeah, we're not using these for passenger. But I mean, it is a diverse locomotive, and it is one of the first locomotives that you're gonna see a lot of general use out of.
The top part of like the hood on the back kind of looks like a Russian TEM7, except it's not like 400 feet tall, so it doesn't look exactly the same. Oh, that's hot.
Yeah, I mean, you can see again some more features of it.
That is such a good scheme on that engine.
Gold and black.
God, that's good. Hey, Biggers, tell me about the Monon. I don't know anything about it.
Oh, fuck.
Well, what do you want to know?
I don't know.
Well,
30-second history.
Basically, the Monon was basically made a giant X across the state of Indiana.
Oh, what a terrible place to make an X across.
And I believe it was called originally it was like the Chicago, Indianapolis, and Louisville originally, but it was called the Monon route because the middle of that X was a little town called Monon. And then they rebranded in I think the 40s or 50s, and then they called it the Monon route, the Hoosier line. And then they had basically they went excessively fast over track that I would not push a fucking push cart on, and they're over there doing like 90 over it.
That sounds pretty fucking cool, actually. Also, obligatory Hoosier, I hardly know her.
So I have to ask, was them creating an X over Indiana what summoned Mike Pence?
Oh no. Monon did
that's
Pence.
A legitimate question.
The Monon did
Like,
Pence.
Yeah. So
You-
Yeah, once again,
We'll have to-
fuck the Monon. And if you foam the Monon, fuck you. You did Mike Pence.
we'll have to you'll have to contact Northeast Cryptid to see how much of that's true, but we're gonna just run on the assumption that it is right now.
I think that, yeah, I'll talk to Daddy Necro. I'm pretty sure that's correct. Off topic, the L&N units that they got from Monon that, like, went to L&N with the Monon paint. You know what I'm talking about, Biggers?
Say that again about the what?
L&N bought some engines off Monon. I think they were Alcos. I can't remember.
Actually, what it was the L&N took over. Actually, took over the Monon. So
What a weird purchase for the L&N.
I know that there wasn't a damn thing about the Monon. It wasn't fucking strange. I'm dead serious about that.
Dude,
so,
when we get done with this, I will record a Monon bonus episode. Don't fuck with me.
please. So basically, what happened is the L&N took over the Monon from, I want to say, Indy to Chicago. That's the only part I'm familiar with. And so CSX runs from Chicago to Monon, and then it cuts straight south of Lafayette. And then they go, I want to say they go to, I know they go down past Crawfordsville, and then they go over to Indy where they go to Avon Yard, but I'm not 100% on that. I'm only familiar with what used to be the first sub, I believe. And then from Monon, they used to run from Monon straight north to Michigan City, but most of that is abandoned. I think that ends in like either Medryville or Francisville, if I'm not 100.
There's a lot of lines that went to Michigan City that are abandoned now.
Well,
yeah.
but L&N got some engines from Monon, and I want to say they were Alcos. But they went to L&N in this scheme, and L&N, I think like that Monon ordered them, and then L&N picked up the order because Monon didn't need them or something. I don't know what happened, but yeah. So
it was probably the same thing as the other, like the 50s and the ones that went to CNO, as they probably ordered them when they were still the Monon, and then they got basically sold out from under them before they were delivered, and then they're just like, hey, you want some Monon engines?
Yeah.
I'll have some Monon engines.
Yeah, but they ran on L&N in that scheme with just L&N lettering, and they were pretty cool looking.
So speaking of segues about weird paint.
Oh yeah, Daddy.
This is my shoehorn into this episode. So when you guys look at a CNO BL-2, it looks fucking weird. The picture on the left here is actually a slide I just picked up. I was so excited to actually get a real slide of a as delivered CNO BL-2.
I have to interject. Slide these nuts. Continue.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Spicy.
So this is the second order of BL-2s that so this is the actual BL-2s that the CNO ordered. You can tell it a couple ways. Number one, it's got down here. It's got the Mars light. And the second run that they ordered them with a 4-digit. The PM originally ordered these in an 80 series. It was just like 81 and 82, up to 8. It was 80 through 85, and then the second order was these 18 series. But you can see, and like I said, this is an old photo. This photo is probably from 48 or 49, just because it doesn't have the flying number boards, and they haven't done a lot of our stuff. But you've got this silver line here with this yellow arch, and let's compare it to a normal CNO F unit, which is kind of the standard for passenger stuff.
Well, just to interject a point here is the EMD in their catalog where they sold locomotives, they had a number of default paint schemes that they had come up with themselves. I want to say it was somewhere between like 9 and 12 schemes, and then unfortunately a lot of people will draw comparisons between like GM&O and RF&P. Although they're very different schemes, they're both modified from the same EMD sample scheme. Chesapeake and Ohio was a modification of one of those default schemes, the one on that F unit there. It is it's very similar to like what Bayline used, RF&P used on their F units, but they actually modified the default scheme for that. That's just a little segue I wanted to throw in there. But yeah, it's
That's a cool fact.
yeah, a lot. That's why you see a lot of the F units have like how this has the swooping paint scheme on the nose, but it'll be a little bit simpler on other units. That's because that was just what EMD was like. This is one of the It's like a graphics pack on like an '80s Chevy truck. It don't do anything. It don't make it no faster, but it's a little sticker pack.
Yep. The only thing that makes it go faster is
Jag stickers.
racing stripes.
An Edelbrock sticker on the bumper.
Yeah.
Hell yeah,
And
brother!
it'll
Got my $40 AutoZone glass packs.
It'll make that's the big thing. Glass pack. So you can see these two locomotives. They look completely different for paint scheme. And the reason why that is again, it's because it's not really a C&O paint scheme.
God, that Pair Marquette scheme is so good.
I know. I love my railroad so much. But you can see, I mean, there's no doubting it. This is the paint scheme that the Pure Marquette ordered for these locomotives. And I mean, even coming down to the script on the side.
It is the same font, yeah.
It's cursive. The only thing you'll ever find Chesapeake and Ohio semi-cursive on is the Pure Marquette locomotives.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so this is one of my favorite thing about these locomotives is that the Pure Marquette ordered them, the C&O got stuck with them, and at some point in time, I will have enough money to buy an extra BL-2 model, and I'm going to get crazy and stupid with it, and I'm going to scrub off the C&O, and I'm going to actually let her for PM as God intended.
I got to say one thing I appreciate about the page and the podcast and you guys especially is like, I don't know if you noticed in the group chat, but I was telling JJ some history about my hometown. I don't know if you saw, but it was like how Central of Georgia used to have to run like light-footed Alcos and these custom like rail cars to space out over this bridge and stuff. And I forget that he doesn't know all those things because he's a little younger than me, and he wasn't part of the Model Railroad Club like I was growing up. So it's like it's like to me it's just stuff that I just know about the area, and then he doesn't, so I get to share it a little bit, and I get to do that with more, obviously not as specific as that because you guys didn't grow up in my hometown, but I can let you guys know some really cool southeastern railroading facts because it's interesting, and it really, like, as that another YouTube channel I love, the history guy, it's history that deserves to be remembered. It's cool stuff.
So much.
I knew nothing about Pure Marquette until I met you at all, other than that it existed. I didn't know it got merged into C&O. It's a blind spot, kind of like Monon was until a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
And that's what I love doing this. I love talking to you guys every day in our little group chat and everything, because I would not know this. I don't have the free time to like do deep dives on stuff anymore, and I usually focus southeastern.
That's just it. I mean, we've all got our little area of expertise, and it just comes out, and like everybody gets the cliff notes about it.
And that's the difference between like this. I love There's Your Problem so much because they'll get into the organic chemistry and they'll get into the details, the nitty gritty, and I love that because I geek on that kind of stuff. But then like what we do, we're not talking all that much about how many rivets the BL-2 had on the long hood, but you're getting a lot of unique subsets of information. I mean, not to sit here and suck our dicks about what we're doing, like we're just talking about trains over slides, but God, man, I just want to fuck everybody listening right now. I love you guys. I'm gonna waste a second to talk about it.
I have to say, I really do. I'm really glad to be part of the chat with you guys because it's definitely a bright spot in my day, even if it's a bad day.
Yeah, I don't really talk to anybody. I used to, my life's changed a lot over the last year or so, and
I used to have friends. I remember that.
I used to have semi-friends. But yeah, I literally talk to my girlfriend every day, my daughter, my cats, and you guys, and that's like it.
Yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, paint scheme comparisons. Let's stop derailing. This is going to be our longest episode by far.
Yeah, we're going to clock in at probably an hour and a half, hour 40 minutes. But quite honestly, It's the BL-2. We knew where we were going with
God, I
this.
wish Zach was here.
I thought the F40 was going to go to 2 hours. I kind of hoped it would.
Well, we'll get to redo it. We're still finding our feet here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you need to send me this picture for the page, dude. What the fuck?
I thought I already did.
You might have, but I'll repost it. I don't care. Send it again.
With the caption too. I think that's what really makes it.
Yeah, I need just like this.
So I guess that is really the question. I chose this photo. This is, again, you guys can see it's a C&O BL2. This is after they repaint it. It loses some of its pure Marquette charm when they repaint it.
Still a good looking scheme, but
yeah, it's still nice. This is Rona. This is a wreck that happened. I want to say it was in the Thumb of Michigan. Someone's gonna me because I'm probably wrong, but I know it did happen in Michigan. The snowplow just dug in, popped up, and fucked this BL2.
This happened a lot in snow plowing. Like the plow would come off a lot.
It was after this that there was an order that's like, you guys can't plow snow with the BL2's short hood forward. You have to do it long head. You have to do it long head forward.
There is a video from, I want to say, the 60s or 70s of CN up in Canada plowing some track, light power with one of those. And the same thing happened. They hit a patch of ice and basically lifted the plow straight off the rail. And of course, the engine's being heavy, it just plowed right through the ice in the plow nose right back down into the tracks and actually peeled, and the engine hit the bottom of the plow, and when it pushed the plow over, it literally peeled the cowling right off the front of the engine and it tipped over. But thankfully no one was hurt, and they are very lucky they were running, I think it was a Jeep 7 or Jeep 9 they were using, and thank God they were running them backwards, because that would have been very bad if they were short end forward.
Yeah,
I gotta find them. Sorry.
Now I feel bad because I don't remember if this was just scary or somebody got hurt.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with the railroad artist Frank Crow, but I know him in real life. I've been around him a few times, and he got in a wreck on Georgia Southwestern in the 90s in Richland, Georgia. They hit a truck hauling a giant cement pipe on a flatbed, and the truck exploded. Truck exploded, killed the driver, but it like flipped the locomotive. They had like a Jeep 9, I think. It flipped it over. The trucks ended up in the middle of the highway, but it peeled the can back. It looked like they put a bomb in the cab. Like, it literally just blew the cab off, and it threw him and the other guy in the cab out in the explosion, and they landed in a ditch and both got a bunch of, like, broken bones or something. But they lived. But literally, like, you look at a picture of the locomotive, and the whole cab is just ripped off like a can of Chef Boyardee. It's bananas. But they got ejected out from it, and the cab managed to eat up the damage.
Yeah. So, like I said, I feel bad because I don't remember if this was fatal or anything else. I just know it was a bad wreck, and it does result in this BL2. You can find photos of this BL2. I don't remember what number it is, but C&O wasn't ready to scrap it. They weren't, this is mid-50s or early 60s. They weren't ready to scrap it. They weren't really ready to do anything with it. They rebuilt it with F7 parts. So the whole front sheet metal was so fucked up, they had to rebuild this locomotive with F7 and all sorts of different windows. They basically completely alter the front end of this BL2. Just
I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I'll have to see if I can find my pictures of it somewhere.
Oh, hey, you guys remember a couple years ago where, like, the backhoe on the Northeast Corridor got hit by, like, the brand new Sprinter and it killed a couple guys? Yeah, not only was I, like, working up in the area, and I, like, drove a truck that got damaged by it with my job. It was pretty fucked up, but, yeah, I got to, like, I've touched the part of that locomotive where it caved in because I've been to the shops in Wilmington a few times working, and I got to look in the cab of that thing and the damage. And trains kill people, bro. Operation Lifesaver can be corny sometimes, but goddamn, be careful by the tracks, bro. The shit you don't understand you have no concept of the forces involved in these things fucking derailing until you see it.
I was rail fanning the paper mill, which they run maximum, I think, like 20 miles an hour, and it's a stub end, and I knew where the locomotive was, and I still freaked out every time I had to walk across those tracks.
Oh yeah, it's trains are scary.
That's the thing that we can tell anybody is that, like, yeah, you can feel like you're an expert foamer or whatever, but goddamn.
I've almost died. I've almost died multiple times on the railroad, man. These things will fuck you up. They don't care. Somebody, I mean, I don't know if any of you guys knew Brandon Warnick, but he's somebody I'd talked to a bunch over the years. I wasn't friends with him, but I know who he is. We've talked, and you know, he got killed by his own train last year, and I got really upset. That was one of the deciding factors in me leaving the industry because it was somebody that I knew and I had seen a lot. I was, you know, with Laram, I was working on Amtrak and I had seen so many people get fucked up, and I had some friends on Long Island Railroad that got hurt real bad. And
was he the CN guy?
He was. I think he was CSX or NS, either one. I don't know, but he got.
Warnick.
Yeah.
I think you said it
he worked for Watco.
Okay. Watco.
I think you said it best in our very first episode, when we were talking about what is a locomotive. It's a mechanical machine that requires a blood sacrifice.
Trains are the forbidden slinky, and sometimes they decide they need meat to keep operating.
And it will claim that regardless of how you feel.
Trains don't care if you're gay or straight, what religion you are, what your skin looks like. If they're hungry, they'll eat you.
So now that we've put out our safety / scare PSA,
Dun, shake hands with danger.
Really, the thing that we have to. This locomotive is usually talked about as a failure. A lot of people will call it ugly. You know, they'll cite there's only 60 of them made.
It is none of those things. This is a developmental step. This is a massive step because this may not, like I said, the Ingalls 4S really did everything that this does and did it better in 1946. But the Ingalls 4S was produced one time.
Yeah, this is produced 59 times.
Exactly. The difference is despite the fact that the 4S did it better, you know, this is an EMD product. This had marketing and production and quality control behind it, and this was the step that let them. This is the step where they saw the benefits of a more universal locomotive. This is a massive step towards the future of railroading, and that cannot be understated.
I think you can look at this two ways. You can look at this and say it's this freight locomotive or this general purpose locomotive, and it wasn't really what it meant, what it was envisioned to be. You know, the interesting thing is that there's the BL-2 is the end of it. You know, they don't call the GP series, they don't call them BL series, they call them GP series. Which, I mean, let's think of that alternate history for a split second. Could you guys imagine, like, oh yes, I saw a BL-50 rail fit. Like, that's just a bizarre term to me. So the line ends with these the generation dies here. I think that if you want,
I said the same thing until I got Sky pregnant. Oh man.
I think if you want to look at these and look at them in the light of a GP unit, I think I can see why you would call it a failure. But I think if that's your perspective, I think you need to change it. I think you need to look at these as being some of the most successful prototype locomotives there ever were.
Look, you got to look. You know, you and I are both WW2 fans. Biggers is into big into military history. The M3 Lee / Grant may not have been a great tank.
That was an awful tank.
But you know what it was? It was there, and it worked. And in a lot of ways, it was just as good as most of what it had to face. It may not have been as good as the best things it had to face, but it was as good as most of the things it had to face. You know what the BL-2 was replacing? It was replacing worn out steam locomotives that were 30 to 50 years old that had worked hard their whole lives and were facing less and less maintenance and rebuilding because it was less economical to do so. These locomotives were seeing more wear and more use than they ever had because a lot of them were shifted off of branch line freights and into local service, and they're getting abused in ways they weren't designed to be. The competition for this locomotive was something that was much older and much more worn out and much more outdated than it. This locomotive replaced technology that had been, as a general fundamental principle, unchanged for almost 150 years.
And it's not to say that these things don't have a long service life.
Because several are still around today and operating. There's some for sale right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and if our Patreon blows up next month,
we'll buy one.
We're gonna skip the driver and we're gonna buy one.
Yeah, fuck it, right?
And we're gonna paint it up in PM as God intended.
Look, my OnlyFans is gonna take off, and I'll use that money to get a driver. We're gonna fucking BL-2.
Yeah. So it is. I think that's an excellent point to make. This is replacing stuff that's just worn out, and it's doing a good job of it. And they stay in service for a long time. The C&O keeps their 14 in service for the better part of 20 years. They actually trade them in on their first order of GP30s.
I would like to point something out, though.
Episode.
Just to mention, the 4S will be an episode. It lasted 20 years, and it was the only one of its kind ever built, and it used a marine engine not ever seen otherwise in railroad applications, and it also lasted 20 years. The concept itself wasn't bad. The concept was just only viable for about 20 years. Because at that point, everything else was advanced beyond it, and it was still early technology. So it's not like an SD40. The SD40 was a fluke. Locomotives don't normally last for 50 years and just keep trucking. Steam did not last that long, except for rare occasions. The fact that
it was something so easy to maintain, it was just stupid to
look, dude. A lot of the Dash 8s were built, not even 30 years ago, and they're all gone.
Yeah.
They're all they're literally all gone except for a couple short lines. And those are modern diesels, man. Like literally there's Alcos on regionals that are older than it that are still kicking it. But most freight locomotives don't last longer than 20 years. That's a reasonable lifespan. The U series are all gone, the B series is all gone, the Dash 8s are gone, SD45s are mostly gone, 50s are mostly gone. 20 years is respectable life out of power, and you're talking about early technology. These were built in the 40s, early 50s.
So, unironically, should we save a Dash 8?
I think some have been preserved. I think one has been preserved.
That is
IRM.
IRM has one.
Our job is to preserve chaotic shit.
Yep. But we can't preserve regular things. It's got to be stupid. The dumber the purchase, the better.
So this slides in here because if you take nothing else away from our episode with this
paint scheme good.
Yeah. Respect the PM.
PM good.
Copy it.
PM good. Monon bad. Monon made Mike Pence. PM good. Monon bad.
But I guess what I would like to take away is that there is no GP series without BL series.
Yeah, things like the BL-2 absolutely proved the concept. It was. Despite the fact that few were ordered and few were produced, that's because it didn't solve the problems well enough. The railroad said, we like this, but we want something that does it better. Because in the end, you're still getting into the BL-2 via the stupid side ladder. You have to get in it like it's an F unit. Forward visibility is no better than an F unit. Crash safety is no better than an F unit, despite the fact that it has a solid frame. The main thing that the BL-2 does, it proves that visibility is important, flexibility is important, and it proves that the 567 is a viable platform. This is what gives the 567 its chance to shine and go into things like the SW and GP9s and to be an engine that is used in marine, stationary, and railroad applications all over the world to this day. I mean, I think just now CN is retiring the last of its GMD ones and its GP9 rebuilds, and despite the fact they're rebuilds, they're still 567s.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Genesee and Wyoming probably has the largest fleet overall of 567 power in the country, but
I mean, it's the Orange Empire. It probably
there
has
are
the largest.
I mean, I don't have any statistics to back this up, but I guarantee you there's thousands of 567s in railroad service in the U.S. right now.
Oh, easily.
Yep.
And so really, when it comes down to the main thing is respect your elders.
Okay, look,
Yeah,
everything
they're
up to
gonna be-
listen, everything up to the GP60 is a solid frame locomotive riding on Blomberg trucks with the same basic overall layout, a short hood that is chopped for visibility and a long hood that does allow access to the back platform. Literally every four-axle locomotive, all the GEs, everything, they all owe their general layout to the BL-2, despite the fact that the hood is different. The difference between the BL-2 and the GP7s and 9s is literally just being able to access the cab from the right side of the long hood, the left side of the nose, and to have walking platform access around the whole length of the locomotive. Otherwise, the concept is exactly the same.
Yeah. So our last slide for second to last slide for tonight. A lot of you guys are gonna recognize this locomotive because you've had a model of it at some point.
Or you saw that Rio Grande video that got on Tosh.0, and then the same. It's like the BL-2.
That's right. Yeah, the excited foamer.
That is a thing. Yeah.
So we usually don't put model railroad stuff in our podcast. But I was looking for pictures and I found this amazing ad for AHM's.
Oh, to be able to
BL-2.
get a model train for $9 fucking dollars.
$9. And it was AHM. This was, I mean, it wasn't like great, but it also wasn't complete shit at the time.
This is the equivalent of like modern ready to roll Atlas or Athearn or Atlas.
I would say
it wasn't Bachmann.
Yeah, okay, this is like modern day mid-tier Bachmann. This is modern day. This is modern day Walthers. This is modern day Athearn ready to roll or Atlas Train Man. It's cheap shit, but like I was talking earlier with you guys before we started about like mixing in a couple of lower quality cars in your long consist for filler. These are filler locomotives. If you're going to run a 4 locomotive consist, you could throw one of those back in if this was like 1990. It'd be fine.
And it's just one of those things.
Oh, to even be able to get a DCC and sound model for $89.95, much less $8.95.
Hey, let's just sit. Let me tell you what. If you want the cheap DCC locomotive out there right now, go out and get yourself a Walthers Plymouth Switcher. That was $100.
I was really excited to get one, and then but life has been happening too hard lately.
Yeah. But so I think AHM is the first one that makes a BL-2. They're AHM models.
The shape is there. The shape is right.
Yeah. If I was hard pressed to be a detailed modeler when those came out, could I make it work? Absolutely. Given the option where I have this nice Proto 2000 in the bottom right, fuck those models. I'm gonna buy the P2K.
Man, it's a shame that they didn't move the P2K line over to like isolated motors and everything, because a lot of the P2K stuff is really damn nice for what it is, but. It is. It's like Athearn Blue Box. It's Athearn Blue Box with better details, honestly.
Well, and I gotta say that I've got 2 of these BL2s because I wanted them. And there's some definite details that I can just run through real quick on these that I need to change. These locomotives. Remember, David, I said earlier that your Proto 2000 model was the most accurate one?
Yeah, they would make one model and then use various paint schemes without changing the details. This is a prevalent problem in model railroading.
And so what Proto 2000 did was they took their measurements and everything off the Western Maryland unit at the B&O Museum. So your Western Maryland unit, absolutely perfect.
None
That
of the others
locomotive
are.
is exactly how it should be. Yeah, everything else is fucked. As we went through, with this being a 1845, this is a C&O ordered unit. It should have a single lens, and it should have the Mars light.
Yep.
And that's just
Unfortunately, this is even to this day model railroading. Our good buddy Max at Tony's Trains laments constantly of the modern stuff being wrong. It still happens to this day, but model railroading does get better every year. So
it does.
the problem is
The,
it's a
my
very
other
expensive hobby. It's not cheap like it used to be. There are no
yeah.
$9 models, but you can still find pretty cheap shit. But it is cheap shit.
My other issue with these locomotives, the more I look at them, I am gonna have to mask off this entire side, and I'm gonna have to respray this locomotive in emerald blue because
The wrong
that is
blue.
that is like a Mopac blue. That is not C&O blue. Um, but regardless, those are just my couple tangents. If by some miracle our podcast reaches Rapido or Scale Trains and they are not so offended that they've left by now,
I love
oh
scale
my
trains.
god,
I just hate Drayton Blackgrove.
please.
I love Rapido so much. I have nothing to complain about.
Yeah, Rapido. I mean, I know that stuff happens
Their latest
sometimes.
video, that was yes.
I've seen some people complain about like difficulty to remove a shell on a model or a couple little things, but you really never hear problems with Rapido. And if you do hear problems, it's things outside of their control. I really have to say that I respect them with the fact they make amazing models. I have two B-36s in Seaboard from them, and I also cannot speak positively enough to the fact that they purchase railroad and bus equipment as much as they can to preserve it. That's so awesome.
I
Yeah.
think
So
they're also very much like I love their the way that they present to the public of they're just goofy. They're goofy
They're
train and
they're
bus.
they're train and bus nerds that are nice and love detail and
they're
love
nuts because
positivity.
they're Canadian. We've already had this
God, I
conversation.
fucking love Canada so much. Hey, you want to hear a really disgusting Canadian accent I can do?
No.
I wouldn't either.
So I guess that's our request for the listeners is please reach out to Rapido and Scale Trains. Tell them how much you love them.
And
But
tell
then
them how much
also
Drayton
demand that they make.
Blackgrove's a fucking nerd.
But then also demand they make a BL-2.
Yeah. Demand a
Um,
BL-2 and demand that I get a prize fight with Drayton.
Mm-hmm.
all right.
Patreon!
On to the plugs. Thank you guys so much for those of you who have already donated.
Yeah, we got
It
like
does
two
mean a
new
lot
two
to
new
us.
subs today. It's awesome. So like I'm about to redo the tiers like in the next day or so. So for $1 a month or 2 or 3, I have it where there's 3 separate tiers. You get the same thing. It's just like how cool do you want to be basically? Like you want to be in the cool kids club or do you want to like smoke weed with me after the podcast? So you get with this. I still have yet to make it because I'm a lazy piece of shit. But there will be a public Discord server that is available to Patreons. Um,
As soon as we figure out how to do it.
yeah, I'm just like I said, lazy piece of shit. I'll get to it eventually, and you get access to fairly regular but not currently scheduled bonus episodes. Thomas is going to be doing a series on building a module railroad.
Yeah,
I'm going to
so
do one as
that's
well when I finally start building mine.
yeah, so we're in our group chat. I had ironically kind of raised up the idea of like, hey, what if we all did a free mode? And everybody's like, yeah, it's a great idea. I was like, oh shit, I didn't intend for this to actually happen.
And here we are. I
Um,
have a module behind me on the back wall with
Yeah.
like random junk on it, waiting for me to clean it up and put foam on it.
So we are going to be kind of creating our own Freemo group for us in our group chat. But part of that is, I mean, I didn't realize until I started looking into it, all the different standards. Because Freemo is really cool. It will let you do what you want to do, but they're also pretty strict. They want you to build their stuff a certain way, and while that seems like really I thought it was like kind of being gatekeeping, but the standards are that way because they've played with it for so long. They know what makes a reliable layout. So I'm going to be starting off. I've actually bought the stuff to try my hand at the Walther's Model Railroad build off this year. And as part of that, I'm going to take you guys along on how to build a Fremo module. We're going to go all the way from design to build. I'm hoping that's going to motivate me to get it done by the June 30th deadline that I've got. No pressure. And then once it's done, I'm gonna show you some pictures of it. I like to shoot my models outside now, when I can, because I've just found that
It looks
the
so much
lighting is
better.
so
That's
much
why I
better.
made my little module that I did to take my pictures of my toys on.
Yeah, you get out there, you get the natural sky. Oh my God, your
So
models are
good.
gonna look 10 times better just because you're not in an artificial light.
And to segue
So
back into Patreon with that, those videos will all be available along with other random videos that I host. Me being the host, I run our social media, I run our Patreon, the YouTube, and I am the sole admin of TPWCA. When I get Zucky Wuckied, my girlfriend posts for me,
page
but
goes
but
silent.
otherwise it's yeah, it's just I send Sky what to post, and she posts it. But I curate the content entirely, and anything you see on TPWCA is me, always me. But generally, if you see social media for this as well, it's the same thing. So, pretty much any of the general talk videos I'm going to be organizing, but we do have a plan for the season for the regular videos, and we have a loose plan for Patreon. I did the Bayline video myself and just threw it in, and Tom will be doing his model videos himself as we keep working the page out. You may see some other things, but soon there'll be Patreon exclusives that come with Tom and everyone else. It depends. I have different people for everything, but as of right now, Tom and I are running the podcast ourselves.
We are the Swiss Army knife of model railroad group chats.
Oh God, yeah, our we all know each other basically because of between TPWCA and a few friends of mine. We've kind of like all hived together, really good, nice folks that also model railroad. So if you model railroad and you're a frequenter on the page, one day you may end up in our group chat as well that this started in.
I just thought you added me because you thought I was cute.
Well, you are cute, but that's not why I
Ah,
added you. Um,
And
but all
and
of you guys are cute.
God willing, we will have a get together at a national model railroad show when that is a feasible possibility again.
You'll know when it happens. But anyways, to circle back, so this whole thing, like, we all loosely know each other through model railroading, but a lot of the people that are involved in this project and our Fremo project are people that I may know outside of all that or inside it. So you'll see a lot of different people rotating in and out. Zach, that was supposed to be here for this episode, does a lot of research for us, and he's an active part. Tom is kind of handling the production side of things. He's making the slideshows and kind of keeping track of everything. And then I'm pretty good with social media, I would like to say. So I kind of handle that side of things. I'm running the Patreon. So if anything else, I can always slap together a short video for you guys, or it could be all of us. Just you'll see a variety of content. Tom will be making some as well. These videos for 90 days, you get to see them early if you're a patron at any tier, at any of the cool guy tiers. So for $1, going forward, I haven't set anything up, but expect some changes. There's a $1, $2, and $3 level. There may be some like everyone will get access to videos, but then $2 gets the Discord, and then third gets I don't know, something. Nothing is set
And
in
so
stone yet, but those things are going to be happening. So keep an eye to the changes in the tiers. One thing that we're doing for the model railroaders out there, there is a $30 tier where there's a drawing every month. You get a $40 value rail car and HO or N scale. We will work with you
if you win,
if you win. Yeah, sorry, not everyone gets it, but basically once a month for right now, there's a drawing, and one of the people at that tier gets a rail car. Now, at that tier, you're going to get every benefit that our Patreon offers, whether that be something like, the Discords, the private videos. You get everything with this, so anything else that's going on. And you also get a model train car if you win. It's once a month, HO or N scale. We'll talk to you about what maybe will fit with your, if you model the 50s, we'll try to work with you for your era at minimum and region if we can help it. Tom will weather it. He does a great job. He sells cars all the time on eBay. When he has some available, that'll be linked in our podcast.
Speaking of, I do actually have some up, and I plan on getting some more up this weekend. So if you will link my eBay, I would love the extra views.
Yeah. Message it to me. Message me your link again, and I'll throw it in the description. But anyways, that's our big thing right now. There's only one person in it, and we're gonna draw at the end of the month. He's gonna get that car. His cars start at $40 a piece. Tom does great work. You get your money's worth out of these cars. This dude's gonna save $10 off this rail car, and he gets all the other benefits. I'm not trying to lose his chance. I've already talked to him personally that he's let him know that unless someone comes, he has a 100% chance of getting this thing. But literally, if just one of y'all listening to it's like, hey, I model HO or N scale or both, and I would like to save $10 off a weathered rail car. That one more person does this, you get all these benefits. You help the podcast, and there's a pretty good chance you're going to get a model train for it. So bear that in mind. That being said, if these things start churning out, we'll make some, if a lot of people start signing up for it, I'm going to make some modifications. I'm either going to lower the price, increase the frequency, or change the terms. It could be one of those things where we build a kit for you and just send you a kit, regular painted. These things are subject to change, but for right now, this is the standing with it. I think we have like maybe 6 or 7. Get it while you can get it, because I'm upset. Tom sold a car I really wanted, and it ended up going for like $50 recently. And I couldn't swing it at the time. I couldn't get in a bidding war. Kaylee even bidded on it. It was a wonderful car. Tom does good work. So, if that's something you're into, please hop on Patreon, because 50% of our profits are going towards the rail preservation community. The other 50% are going to Tom and I, so that we can try to help buy some other people in our group chat microphones and set things up for ourselves. Like, I'm going to upgrade the audio quality. I know now it's much better than the first episode. I know the mic was clipping the first time. I know there's been echo. We're finding our footing. This stuff's going to get redone. But, there's a lot of people that want to come on that don't really have setups right now and don't want to come out of pocket because of, the situation of capitalism in America right now. So half the money at the moment, half the money at the moment goes to casting a driver for the T1 that is being built, and the other half is going to getting more people that are like, we're going to do an FEC episode one day. We're trying to get our friend Christian on. We're going to get him a mic, et cetera, et cetera. The money is going to go to increasing the quality of the podcast. It's going to go towards making merch like shirts and stickers and all kinds of cool stuff. And it goes into buying the train cars that we're going to be painting and giving away at certain tiers. Very soon, the Discord is going to be going live. You're going to be able to communicate with us directly, have a good time, make suggestions. And, I'm sure at some point there'll be fans we'll be bringing on the episodes. And we're going to be doing Patreon Q&As very soon. We don't really have enough patrons right now. I think we have 6 or 7. My wife is one of them, so we're
number -1.
Right, yeah. So once we get up to, I would say like 20 patrons, right, we'll start doing Q&As fairly often.
Yeah.
You might see an episode where Kaylee and I go on to talk about what being a conductor is like. You might see episodes where Tom and I talk about the Père Marquette. Tom may put up videos. Zach may come on and talk about EMD's sales catalogs.
Or just straight up the Sioux line.
Right. That'll be an episode. If you can think about it, there'll be an episode either for Patreon or for the channel at some point, because I know that none of us care if any of you guys watch or contribute. We're doing this for us, not for you. You just get to hang out.
Which is why this episode is officially 2 hours long.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay,
I'm just going to close this out. If any of you guys are thinking about doing the Walthers Model Railroad or Build-Off, remember that you have until, I believe it is the 14th this month of April, to order your kits. And I will say this, if you're a Patreon, that's the only way you're going to get to see what I'm doing for my Model Railroad Build-Off.
That being said, every video is unlisted. It will be unlisted on YouTube going forward. The first Bayline episode is a teaser. 90 days. You get early access 90 days, and then it goes public on YouTube. And I will upload...
That 90 days is going to take us right to that June 30th submission date for the model railroad build off. So if you want to follow along with me, get some ideas for your model railroad build off, you got to be part of the Patreon.
Yep, and I'm assuming that those videos are going to be coming very soon. So for tips, tricks, and info, definitely be ready. The $1 Patreon level is going to get you in on that. It's $1 a month, man. I've had people in Europe contribute euros, and a lot of people are hitting the $2 and $3 tier that gives you nothing extra just because they want to be nice. You know, times are hard,
I really
man.
appreciate that.
$1 a month, if we don't ever make enough to cast the driver, as much as I hate to say it, it is what it is. If nothing else, it'll buy some people a microphone, and if 100 of y'all watch these, then 100 of y'all get to hear them talk about something they know more than us about, and you can learn something too. It's a good time. There will be an episode that we're going to be.
Let's cut this. Let's cut this before we go to 3 hours.
Fair enough. Yep.
It is officially 1 o'clock Eastern time. It is now officially April 4th here in Michigan, and I would just like to wish everybody a happy Easter.
Happy Easter, everybody.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.
Look out for zombie Jesus Bunny.
It's a full moon. It's actually zombie werewolf Jesus.
Oh no. Okay, I'm going to end the recording now.